are a local resource, and we have east of the Cascades, and are happy to drive and help anyone. We've met with quite a few folks in the middle of the state, so we'd be happy to assist any way we can. So that's CISA in a short nutshell, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if anyone wants to share my information or send me an email or give me a call, that's fine as well.
I missed the first couple minutes of your presentation, and but I started the record. I just started the recording like 2 minutes ago, so this is being recorded. We'll be able to make. I'll send a link to you all on my SharePoint page, where you can all look at the presentation. And if you want to go back on your slides till about for another 2 minutes, then get the thing in the recording, and then we can pass it on at 11 past the hour. We'll start with the next speaker, and then we'll have about 17 minutes of questions after giving all the people their 7 minutes. And so if we can hold the questions till the end, that might work the best. And
that works. Thank you. I appreciate being included. And I will also state that while I am Eastern Washington, we do have resources in Western Washington. There are 3 more of me and 3 more of Steve over there, and we have resources in Alaska, Oregon, and Idaho that are specific to those states. So I can connect you with those folks if you need to talk to them. And we're, obviously we have other regions. I can connect you with advisors throughout the U.S. So just feel free to take my contact info and let me know if you need additional information.
I've got a red light here. If you can see the red light in my camera, when the speakers have 10 minutes, when the person have the last 1 minute of their speech. So if you can see my camera, I'll turn on light off right now. But when the light comes on, you'll have 1 minute to wrap up.
Okay, I have listed on here that Eric Byres is the next speaker.
Okay, all right. Can you guys hear me? I've been having audio problems here.
Come across perfect for me.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So I don't have any slides here today. I'm just going to talk really quickly, and then we can get on to the discussion and questions and answers. My particular area of focus right now is supply chain attacks. Some of you out there may know me as the inventor of the Tofino firewall. And I did invent that firewall and commercialized it. And if you buy a Schneider firewall or a Honeywell firewall or a Caterpillar firewall or an Eaton firewall, or I don't know who else's firewalls, the guts are my old firewalls, but I'm not involved in firewalls anymore. And there's a particular reason why I'm no longer involved in firewalls. They're still really important. I find them really fascinating and really useful. They're a great tool, but I became particularly concerned about another form of attack and another issue that I see developing. Again, not anything against firewalls. I just see other issues that firewalls aren't addressing. And this really came about back in 2014 when I became aware of what was called the Dragonfly attacks. If you're not familiar with those are attacks against European energy and pharmaceutical companies that were done probably by the Russian GRU, but definitely a nation state, where they attacked tier 2 OT ICS equipment suppliers and basically infected the software that they were giving to their customers. And then from there, what was happening was that well-meaning, well-intended controls engineers were saying, hey, look, new software, let's download it and get it into the plant floor. and this immediately gave these attackers access onto the plant floor. So we call these supply chain attacks. They were amazingly effective. I was lucky enough to actually be able to go in and do extensive due diligence and analysis of one of the tier 2 equipment suppliers, a company that made industrial VPN concentrators and VPN devices for the plant floor. And I was able to see the software that was being transferred or being downloaded by their customer base. For the 2 weeks that Trojanized software was available, about 280 customers downloaded. So that meant that basically this threat actor had access onto the plant floor of 280 plants. Because my belief is nobody downloads software in the OT world if they're not going to install it. So at least 280 installs. Once this stuff came up, it would call back home to the mothership, and it had ability to scan and detect Modbus devices, Ethernet IP devices, Mitsubishi devices, OPC communications. It was a real Swiss Army knife and provided extensive intelligence about plant floor operations. This was absolutely not an IT attack that happened to migrate into OT. This was an OT-focused supply chain attack. So fast forward a few years, or fast forward about a year, as I became more and more involved in this, I became very, very, very concerned about these attacks because, quite frankly, firewalls generally won't address them. And I became interested in what we could do with the supply chain. Thanks to the DHS, I was lucky enough to get a significant round of funding to do research into supply chain attacks. And since then, I've become a huge supporter and deeply involved in the CISA software bill of materials initiatives. And in case you're not familiar with what a software bill of materials are, think of it like a ingredients label on a can of soup you buy. Now, if you want tomato soup, you pick up that can of soup and you look at it and you see on the side and it says, well, hopefully it says tomatoes at the top. It may not. It may say water at the top, but whatever. It says tomatoes, but then it says a whole bunch of other things. And that's true for software in general. You think you're buying software from, a major supplier like Honeywell, but every supplier out there today is probably only writing about 20% of their own code, and they're using open source projects or closed source proprietary projects and software. It's not just open source to build their products. And so it's really critical, what's in the soup. And so my focus in the last 3 years, or 4 years, I guess, is really about, hey, how can we incentivize the industry for the suppliers to be able to provide these software bill of materials? And secondly, how can we as people in the industry make effective use of software bill of materials? Whoops,
Hey,
we got
Brad.
a little noise in the background there, guys.
Brad, you got your phone on. Brad, turn your phone down. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks,
sir.
Brad. So I'll be happy to take any questions on that. There's a lot we can do with software bill of materials now. I want to be absolutely clear, though. It's not the silver bullet. There's no silver bullets in security. You guys figured that out a long, long time ago. But what it is it gives us transparency so we can make decisions. Again, when you think of software bill of materials, think of that label on the can of soup. It doesn't say that peanuts are bad for you if you're allergic to peanuts. It just says there's peanuts in there. Well, same with software bill of materials. It doesn't say that log4j may be bad for your plant floor or a particular version. It just says it's there. It's up to you to be able to understand the risks. And that's really the part that I'll fill in more today, or happy to talk more about. But how do we really make good use of this intelligence that we're starting to get? And that's all I've got to say for right now. If anybody's got any questions, I'm happy to take them. I'll just pass this on to the next speaker otherwise.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Eric. And then it's Joe Weiss. You're up next.
Okay.
So,
can I?
The floor is if you want, go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, can you, I have just a couple slides I'd like to give, because I'm actually giving a bigger one later today, but it's dealing with identifying cyber incidents, which may be near and dear to where Eric's heart used to be. If you think
You
about
should be able to
RISI.
share your screen, Joe.
Okay, hang on a minute then. Hold on, where is my, okay, view, it's my share. So hold on a minute, I'm looking.
Yeah. Don't know for you.
Okay, rather than sharing the screen, I'll just talk it through. There's a couple of things that have happened over the past, say, year or two.
Hey,
that,
Joe, we
yep.
can't see you anymore. We're just looking at your keyboard.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
there.
yeah, you go. Awesome.
Sorry.
Much better.
Okay. Anyways, rather than give the slides, let me just talk through what's going on. And I wasn't sure I was going to be here because I just had to testify to the Colorado legislature on some of this. First of all, I ended up writing a what's called a micro-learning module for ISA. And it's on identifying control system cyber incidents. And the reason being is because there are no cyber forensics when you get down to the lowest level, to what's called level 0 and level 1. And so where cyber incidents are generally detected is when it's anything that's an Ethernet packet on an internet protocol network. What you don't see are things that happen below that. The same way Eric had his RISI database, I had been independently collecting control system cyber incidents. I've identified more than 17 million control system cyber incidents to date. More than 32,000 deaths directly from control system cyber incidents. And the bulk of them were never identified as being cyber related. And part of that is because we have no cyber forensics or no cyber security when you get down to that lowest level. Now, the second thing that's been going on is I've been dealing with, and by the way, these are related. Don't know how many people have been familiar with the Chinese transformer issue, where the Chinese have put hardware backdoors into large, not just electric transformers. What was identified recently is all of the port cranes, or almost all of the port cranes, the Chinese port cranes, have cellular modems in them. And so there's been a very big concern about what does that mean? What are they sending, either way? Where this gets to be an issue is, and particularly, like I say, with the transformers, et cetera, is the SBOM approach doesn't work here because you're talking about an entity that may say, as Eric said, tomato soup, but that's because you can trust, quote unquote, Campbell's that it's supposed to be tomato soup. In this case, you can't trust what the Chinese are doing or saying, and that's what's coming out of the Chinese transformer issue. In the sense that there was a large Chinese transformer sent to Sandia to try to understand what was actually going on. The results of that report were classified above top secret. What does that tell you about what's in these actual devices? And the point being that there's over 300, actually over 400 large Chinese transformers in the US grid, plus in Canada, Australia, UK, all over. So we're at a position that we don't really know what's in there. And when you start thinking about the cellular modems, what this does is gives you an ability to take control of these devices completely behind any cybersecurity protection whatsoever, which is why the original executive order on these Chinese transformers explicitly excluded all network security considerations. They bypassed them. Well, if you look at it, this is the Maginot Wall. They worked around it. So without going into much more detail, I can take questions later. But what I've been focusing on is what are the issues going on that could cause actual damage that's occurring at the quote unquote the lowest levels, almost the truly living off the land type issues when you're talking about control systems.
Okay, well, thank you, Joe. We will let everybody gin up their questions for the last extent of our meeting. We're going to go on and continue on now.
And can I mention one last point?
Yes, go ahead.
So the part of the reason for doing this work on identifying control system cyber incidents is you don't initiate a cyber incident response plan if you don't know there's been a cyber incident. And so this is the whole in most everything you're doing is the incident response plans have all been coming when you've been seeing things at the IP layer. The really big issues that have caused real damage have not, and they've not been identified as being cyber related. So there's been no incident response plans initiated.
So no level 0 or 1 plans have been initiated.
No, there's been, because they weren't identified as being cyber related, there was no cyber incident response plan initiated.
Okay.
And the incidents were just labeled mechanical failure or electrical failure.
Okay. Okay. Are we ready to move on, Joe?
Yes.
I'll go ahead and pass it on to the next speaker. And that is Lori Ross-ONeil. Go ahead, Lori.
Thank you. Let me go ahead and bring up some slides. I just have a couple here. Might be naughty. Oh,
You,
okay.
You able to see the shared screen?
Give it a picosecond.
There, we got it.
It's coming. It's coming.
Kansas City hasn't got
All
it
right.
yet.
All
It's
right.
coming.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about some work that we're doing for the Joint Office of Energy and Transportation, along with the Department of Energy, and then a little bit of DoD interest as well. So we are focusing our research right now on cybersecurity of electric vehicle charging infrastructure with ultimately the intent to protect the grid. So I think this goes hand in hand with the topics that Joe and Eric have raised as well. But as you can imagine, electric vehicle charging is highly interconnected. It's not just IT, it's not just OT, it's not even considered ICS at this point. It's certainly not critical infrastructure on anybody's list, but so many are depending on it right now. And it's only going to grow with the amount of money that is being funneled in through the federal government. So, for example, the Joint Office of Energy and Transportation has $7.5 billion that they're making available to 50 states and 2 territories right now to ensure that there is charging end to end across the US. So if you look at this little diagram we have here, we have payment systems, we have PII, we have IT infrastructure, networking, we have transportation, we have the grid, we have mobile apps. we have so many things that make it interconnected, and we're trying to kind of figure out how to make all this safe and secure from the ground up. And that's where we're at right now. So last time I was on, I talked a little bit about the procurement language we had done for the Army, and we've also leveraged that for the Joint Office as well. And so we came up with about 20 clauses that the states, or actually anyone, can use to put into their procurement contracts to ensure that those are cyber safe and secure throughout the entire life cycle of a physical installation. These are meant to be just a guideline. They're not meant to be cut and pasted into a contract, but they're meant to be edited to fit the situation. So that's one of the tasks that we completed. The next thing we're looking at is really, how do we identify an event? And if an event has occurred, who are you going to call? So we started looking at this from a state and a federal level as well. And there's a lot of this going on. I have to say, there's a lot of confusion about who you're going to tell. A lot of roads do lead back to CISA, which I really appreciated the slides you have this first up about call us, please call us. I appreciate that. So we're trying to help those stakeholders that are involved. And you're kind of thinking, well, who are the stakeholders? Well, I talked a little bit about there's 50 states and 2 territories that are going to receive this federal funding. And those are typically Department of Transportation's, EPA departments, those types of things. These are not the cyber savvy parts of the state necessarily. While they may answer to their office of the CIO, they really, that's not their full-time job, right, to handle cyber events. And so cyber is just one small piece of it. So we started looking at who are some of the federal agencies that are interested in this. So the example, the use case we're kind of starting out as, so a electric vehicle charging service provider, it needs to report. Who do they report to? What, maybe it's a consumer that gets to the charging station, it's on fire. Well, okay, that one's probably pretty easy. You're going to call the fire department. But what if it's something else? What if somebody is stealing, there's a semi truck connected up to it, and they're running a crypto mining situation off of that? Who are you going to call on that one? So we started looking at this. The contracts are held by the states, typically the DOTs. So we thought, well, maybe it'll escalate to there. And like I said, almost all the plans we reviewed, these all roads lead to CISA, which is great. But then we have some other areas that need to be involved. What if it's PII? What if it's things that fall under security and exchange? What if it's a natural disaster that caused it? Those are going to be FEMA. Or if it's a utility that actually owns the charging stations, it's going to be the Department of Energy. So there's so many players involved with this, and we're just hoping they detect it, like Eric was talking, or Joe was talking about. They detect it, and then what do you do about it? How do you get it fixed? So we want to get these cyber holes fixed, ideally at the supply chain level, not when somebody is going to slap a patch on it later. But also we want it to go back to the OEM or the provider to install the fix and propagate it throughout the systems. So the other place we started looking was, where could information be shared and analyzed? And we thought, well, maybe it's an ISAC or an ISAO would be a great place to do this. Well, we identified 6 possible ISACs that could be interested in electric vehicle charging infrastructure cyber concerns. And we started reaching out to them, and none of them seem to want to own this problem. They're happy to share information across, but we haven't found a one-stop shop yet. So we're trying to figure that out. So I'm hoping this audience will have some ideas for us and some thoughts and experience in this area. So this is just one of the challenges that we're working at the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory here in Richland, Washington. And as I always like to say, we like hard problems. So this is a hard one, but this is going to take bigger than us to help figure this out and solve it. So thank you for letting me share my research. And I'm getting the red napkin of death and the red bike light of stop. Okay. I will stop.
Thank you, Lord.
Red
Thank
light
you,
means
Lord.
1 minute to wrap up.
Oh, 1 minute. Okay, go ahead.
So
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll stop now. I'll beat the rush. I don't know what's higher than red, so I don't want that on the
Yeah.
TLP levels.
Okay, next up is Dr. Udo.
All right.
And I don't
Yeah.
see he's not sharing his picture up there. Brad?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay,
do that right now.
okay.
So good afternoon. Can you see my screen?
yes,
Yes,
Yeah. So I recently concluded a research study on the impact of cybersecurity awareness on employees in the industrial control systems environment, and I would like to share my findings with the audience. So before the study, the problem statement was, if we deploy the latest technology to tackle cybersecurity issues without having the stakeholders act attentively and protectively, it's not going to be sufficient. And according to Kaspersky, 52% of companies report that employees constitute most of the weaknesses in cybersecurity due to lack of awareness. And according to the CISA in 2021, 95% of data breaches were caused by human error. The general problem is the high percentage of human factors contributing to cybersecurity attacks due to lack of awareness. And the specific problem that we found was, most security managers in the industrial control systems environment don't have the right strategies to implement cybersecurity awareness to prevent cybersecurity attacks. The purpose statement, the purpose for the research was to explore the strategies that cybersecurity managers can use to implement cybersecurity awareness. And the findings from this study was significant because, it helps cybersecurity managers to, find strategies to help, employees to protect the systems correctly. And it may also contribute to social change by increasing cybersecurity awareness among employees and the ability to spot potential breaches and report them adequately. The research question was, what strategies do ICS security managers use to establish cybersecurity awareness in the industrial control systems environment? The research method for the research was a qualitative research method, and this method allowed me to use a natural approach to understand the social problem. The research design that I selected was the pragmatic inquiry approach. And the pragmatic inquiry approach, entails interviewing stakeholders in that environment. My participants were drawn from the industrial control systems environment in the United States. And each of my participants had at least 3 years of experience in the industrial control systems environment, and also had adequate experience and knowledge in cybersecurity. My sample size consisted of 10 participants. My data collection technique was through semi-structured interviews. So I had to interview each of the participants. So after the data collection, I identified 3 major themes, and they were the prioritization of cybersecurity training, the continuous testing of knowledge and drills, and the enactment of cybersecurity policies. So how does the data relate to professional practice? So cybersecurity in the industrial control system plays a crucial role in mitigating risks. By investing in cybersecurity awareness, organizations can enhance their cybersecurity posture, which helps better protect the infrastructure from potential attacks. What implications does the data have for social change? So when we increase cybersecurity awareness, it helps employees to identify and report potential security risks. And it also helps them to adopt best practices for secure behavior. In addition, these strategies can help ensure a safer industrial control system environment, which also ensures the system's confidentiality, integrity, and also availability as well. So based on the research findings, recommendations for actions are first, prioritizing cybersecurity training. So this will help drive cybersecurity awareness and instill the importance of protecting an organization. Also testing, the frequent testing of employees will help identify gaps and also help train people based on the gaps identified. Then also creating cybersecurity policies. So in today's age, it's important to actually create a good cybersecurity policy. This helps, keep the employees in check and also helps implement proactive measures to safeguard their certain information and protect the systems from potential threats. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Udo. Okay, now I think we're in the question and answer framework. Brad, how many minutes do we have left? I don't have a clock in front of me. Okay, it's 2:30. It's 12:38 your time. 12:39. So, okay, attendees,
I'm
go ahead.
muted. Yeah, I'm muted. So we basically got we might want to consider if we want to turn off the recording right now so we can feel free to speak. What's the consensus on that? We've got the recording for all of these presentations, but
so
I second the motion.
I would say that's okay. I would say if there's anything of import, that we use the chat technique and put the key ideas down in chat if you think it's something that we want to carry on with this and have it as part of the record for this meeting.
So okay. I probably have about 2 minutes of content I could add in reference to much of what was said. Is there an option for me to do that?
Sure, go ahead. We'll rush through this process. Go ahead.
Okay, basically in SBOM, I was really glad we talked about software bill of materials. An extension of that is a new initiative we have at CISA called Secure by Design, which includes using secure code libraries rather than open source that hasn't been hardened. It also has requires software companies to include security features by default. In other words, they can't charge an extra $1,000 to include MFA. It should be included by default in a software package. So that's one initiative. Another comment I had, there's the CIRCIA is the Cyber Incident Reporting for Critical Infrastructure Act, came out in 2022. What that's going to do, it's going to implement regulations requiring covered entities to report covered cyber incidents and ransomware payments to CISA. So at some point, we're hoping to have a database and we can see trends. They're still working through how to get that, but if everyone will report, then we'll at least have more data to work with. And let's see here. The other comment I had, I was really glad that Doctor talked about security awareness training, because our stats say that 90% of respondents take action after a training. So that's the easiest lift you can have. If you can get everyone to do security awareness training, you'll improve your posture. So that was great. Thank you. In the final CISA comment, we always ask, do you have a plan? Is it documented? Is it updated? And is it exercised? So that's all I got. Thank you.
Actually, do any of Eric or Joe, do you want to take a 2 minute before we turn the camera off? Or Lori? Eric?
I'll be happy. Joe, I was interested to hear what Joe had to say. And I think that there's a little misunderstanding on the use of SBOMs. It's a case of trust but verify. Yeah, you can get an SBOM from a Chinese vendor, and then what you need to do is validate it. I mean, it's the same as any other documentation you get, including your safety manuals, your security manuals, your operator manual. It's trust but verify, to paraphrase President Reagan when he was talking to Gorbachev years and years ago on the nuclear SALT treaty. And so, there's lots of tools and techniques. One of the things that my company focuses on, Adolis, is the whole topic about how do you verify what's actually in the software versus what was in that SBOM. We just did that actually for a large enterprise. It was an energy management system. And it turns out, don't know why this happened, but it turns out that the SBOM stated that certain software components were being supplied by Microsoft. And we were able to show that those certain software components are actually being supplied by a open source project coming out of China. You know, why that happened, where the developers in the back room just knowing that they wouldn't get that passed and they really wanted to use that module, was it nefarious? I don't know. I can't say, but I can say that mistakes get made. So it really is important to realize that SBOMs are a way of communicating. They're not a silver bullet. They give you information that you can then validate, and then you can use for your risk analysis and say, hey, do I want to use software that hasn't gone through Daniel's program and hasn't been validated? Yes or no? And make purchasing decisions, deployment decisions, replacement decisions on that kind of, you know, even when you're just purchasing software and you're buying new software, hey, what am I actually buying? You know.
Okay.
Actually, I just shared my screen, and I want to put, we've got Doug Wardell. You see his pictures. Doug, tell us, no, Doug, Dan Wardell.
Doug is my evil twin.
Exactly. Tell us.
I'm Dan.
And tell us about Pisces. And I don't know if you other panelists know about Pisces, that I was just involved in a private company called provided a seminar, Critical Insights. They introduced me to this Pisces. I was hoping to have Matt Benke, also from Pisces at CBC, Columbia Basin College. So Dan, could you talk 2 minutes on Pisces? Tell us all.
I can, and it might be worth another window of opportunity, because the time is short here.
Yeah.
That we could go into more about what Pisces is, but really we're trying to create the next generation of cyber defenders. So this is a platform that is stood up and available for colleges and universities to run their students through, that they would have live fired data from a SIM tool. The SIM tools, like the city of Spokane, where I'm the information security officer, we're a logarithm shop. Some people are a Splunk shop. Well, Pisces has basically a very sophisticated ELK stack. In fact, PNNL has been participating with the Pisces program. And what we do is provide that SIM tool to local cities, counties, and areas that don't have a large budget and a large footprint to protect. And we put a collector inside that gets the metadata from their logs, and that log data then goes to SIM dashboards in colleges and universities that have a formal program for students. So when we talk about what does a security analyst look like, these students go into class and they're looking at real data, and they have found real vulnerabilities that organizations, government organizations, have landed on their network. So the Pisces program is really around education and helping educate that next generation of cyber defenders, and that's a real 100,000-foot view of the Pisces program. There's some architecture diagrams. There's a lot of things that would be good to know about it, but I wonder how much of it is a fit for this particular audience. The main benefits of the Pisces program and integrations would be local municipalities, SLTT organizations, state, local, territorial, and tribal, that are small organizations that don't have a large IT budget. And we want to be able to help those agencies, one, protect their infrastructure, and two, then educate and share. So that's kind of it in a super quick nutshell. I would definitely put the Pisces about page there in the chat, if you would. And
yeah,
I can definitely talk about it more on another call, or we could have like Mike Hamilton come in and share. He's definitely an inspirational speaker. Thank you.
I was speaking with Steve Stein at length, and one thing that I wanted to bring up to Lori, I suggested to Steve that since Pisces has their own certificate that the students get, correct? And I suggested to Steve that why don't they use the ISC squared from Lori, and maybe you guys should work together. Are you thinking about doing that? Would you offer a ISC squared certificate to the Pisces students? And
we actually have already had that discussion.
Okay.
So great minds think alike. Yeah, we were looking at the I know Pisces was looking to build their own certification program at one time, but the ISC2 has rolled out the Certified in Cyber, which I know we've had some folks that map that to the skills in Pisces, and I think that is probably be a really good fit, especially because right now the Certified in Cyber, what I call the gateway certification, the first one people can get easily, is free, and the first year's the training materials are free as well. So, and the annual membership is nominal. So, yeah, great minds think alike. Thank you, Brad.
I mean, we've got too many standards. Joe and Eric are managing. Joe at least is managing director. I don't want to misspeak of ISA S99 that have their own certificate for, and I guess Joe, am I correct that IEC 62443 have a separate standard, a separate certification besides ISAs?
To clarify there, neither one of them have staff certifications or this kind of educational certifications. The ISA organization has certifications,
right?
But it's not, and it's based on understanding S99 and which is functionally equivalent now, or the same as IEC 62443. But remember that a standard is just that. It says this is what you must do. It's a different organization and a different process to be certified to that standard, whether you're an individual or a process or a product. So yeah, just to clarify, neither S99 or IEC 62443 actually certify anything.
And I'd like to bring up a couple of things. Also a clarification. I just rolled off as being managing director of 99 after 12 years. So I'm still involved with 99, but just for clarity, I'm not the managing director anymore. But there's also
Eric, did the other Eric Cosman or Gilson?
No, the way things work is the managing director is on what's called the Standards and Practices Board. Then you have where Eric Cosman and Johan Nye are. They're the committee co-chairs. So they're the ones who are really responsible for the standard. The managing director is making sure that all of the processes and procedures and everything else have been followed. Now, I wanted to get to one other point, and it goes to much of what's been talked about here. There's a lot of work being done on awareness, on training, on the S-bombs, etc., which is really, really good, needed, and great. What's missing and continues to be missing after 25 years is that same level of rigor when you get down to what actually makes it a control system, which is your sensors and actuators. And that does not have that same rigor. The awareness programs do not go down to that level. The certifications, both of equipment as well as training, do not get down to that level yet. It's all, in a sense, at the higher level. And that's a gap that exists today. And the unfortunate part is that our adversaries are already exploiting that. And I want to just be clear. What's going on is great. It's just not sufficient.
Yeah, the whole purpose of this meeting was to get collaboration between all of our respective organizations. You know, ISC squared, CISA, Pisces, 62443, I-99, and
Yeah, and all
gotta-
I'm trying to say is they're all great, but they're all sitting at one level above where the actual process itself is monitored and controlled in real time. And we have to be able to take that next step, and it hasn't happened yet.
and
Well, I would like to step in just for a second and make a few comments,
Yeah.
Eric. It sounds like you need a year 2000 huge temporary employment thing to pull this sort of thing together. But I'm coming at this from a level 0 and 1 guy, and I'm used to ICS people with this, and they're companies they work for, and then consultants that we bring in are just like everyday Joes with some programming experience. And you tie in all these different control systems. You mentioned Ethernet based or fiber optic type links. I remember working, I won't name the company. It used to be the major AE in the US. And the experience of all the people working there was that they didn't want to bring everything into the confines of the control system. They wanted all these links. So that was a driver, and that was almost 20 years ago. That was the modus. And then you also had this, what do you call it? The communication wars, the field bus wars.
Yeah.
You got that issue. And so, and you got all these people that are tying in. OPC was the way to tie into your control system. But now you're saying, well, and I want to step over. Okay, those are all, and I agree. People don't even know the fundamentals of this nasty little thing being stuck into the hardware, and it's very sad. We got people participating that just don't have the basic thought process, the basic training to protect us. So you're saying, well, so it's a very big problem. I'm going to finalize with what I have to say. I've worked directly with Chinese nationals, face to face, as close as the screen is for me, a foot. I've ran projects where the Chinese nationals copied a vendor, I'll say it, ABB, and then try to sell it because they build all the hardware and firmware gets loaded in China. So, and then try to sell the system in parallel competition with ABB. With all these, with even more highly loaded, wonderful stuff that once you tie it into the overall network, it's 20, 30, 40 kilometers long with all the different control systems all. Can you imagine the impact after what I'm hearing here with the, and I've also been exposed to some transformer stuff. I'm aware of the transformer aspect a little bit. How about switchgear and its communications? Step down. We don't have not just the transformer, key equipment, electrical equipment, and their switchgear. So it's overwhelming. That's all I'm going to say.
Hey, Eric put a chat that he got a hard stop at 1. You want to say one more thing, Eric, before you leave?
Sure. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for the time. And is my mic working? Yeah. Thanks very much. Just really appreciate the opportunity. It's great to connect with all of you guys. And if anybody has any questions or wants to reach out, I'll be happy to chat about software bill of materials, trust but verify, verify but trust, whichever you want to do it. I do think that like safety, cybersecurity, like safety was, and maybe still is, cybersecurity is something we're learning how to do well and efficiently, and we will be learning for a few more years yet. So thanks very much and have a great day.
And let's see, Eric, is your name on the, looking for Eric, your picture on this 99. I've suggested to a lot of people to send on the shared screen to send an email to this guy, Charlie Robinson, asked to be information member of S99.
Sure.
And Charlie might not like me making extra work for him, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind that, right, Eric?
I can't comment on that. I am no longer involved in the 99 project because I'm involved in the CISA SBOM project and on related projects such as vulnerability exchange and vulnerability disclosure requirements. I've been sort of moved over towards information sharing rather than standards for information sharing rather than standards for OT. All of them are important. It just happens to be where only so many hours in the day. So I cannot comment on what's happening over at 99. Or
how about, I guess we should give Eric, or we should give Joe and Lori one last shot to say anything.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
Thank you for including me. It was a pleasure. Always great to talk cybersecurity of industrial control systems and operational technology. And we're here to make the world a safer place. So thank you for this. And I look forward to future opportunities to chat more. And of course, folks, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these topics. So thank you.
And Joe?
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah, same thing. Thanks for including me. It's always interesting. And it's also always frustrating to me why these lowest level devices seem not to be able to, quote unquote, make the cut. So hopefully maybe this can help address that gap.
So, well, we're down from we are at our high of 14 and we're down, a high of 21 was all, and we're down to 14. Udo, are you still around? I see you there.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm gonna have another meeting I'm about to jump into.
Okay,
but
so
thanks everyone.
I've got the recording.
Thank you.
So
thanks, Udo.
Let's see. Maybe we turn off the recording, and if people want to stay on, Joe, you want to talk a little bit more unrecorded about your 3 minutes?
But I'm just gonna head into I have an interview to conduct by 1.
Okay.
So they're already waiting for me. Thanks everyone. I have to run.
See you, Joe. See you, Udo.
Okay.
Joe,
Udo, it was great listening to you.
Lori.
Joe, do you want to, if I turn off the recording and the 14 people stay on, you want to talk a little bit more about your 3 minutes?
Yeah,
let me turn the recording off.
Would be okay.
Unrecorded?
Unrecorded.
That's what I thought I heard you say, but I wasn't sure. So let me go and come on, where is it? More, record and transcribe, stop recording. Stop recording, yes.